Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum. Most importantly, if you'd like to join this discussion right now, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined in the Google Plus Hangouts on air by Sleeping Warrior and 10th Man, so a very warm hello to both of you.
Yo, yo.
Good morning, y'all.
Good morning, y'all. Good weekend?
Another day, another dollar.
Good stuff. We're also joined by a few people in Discord, so I'll just go and raise the mics on them if you can give me a couple of seconds. So we've got Billy Bars. How you doing?
Hey Nathan, how's it going?
Very well. We've also got Dougie. Hello. Maybe not. Earth-shaped investigator. Hello. Slick guys, very slick. Red man. Hello. Righteous Force. Hello. Truth in your face. Hello.
Hey. Hello.
The usual enthusiastic tones of Discord. So let's do some housekeeping. Who wants to start?
Okay. Any signs of Earth curvature?
No, only optical effects claim to be Earth curve.
I agree.
Mumble, mumble, rustle, rustle. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Only the rotation points in the sky. That means that there's no other explanation possible, that we must be on a ball and the axis. That's the best explanation that I've come across so far.
What, that we need an axis to have two rotation points in the sky?
Well, that's what they say. They say that they see the rotation points in the sky and they infer that there must be an axis of rotation to create it, because how else could it possibly be?
Yeah, but they only achieved that by affirming the consequent, right?
Well, I mean, that is their inference. They infer that there's an axis because there's two rotations in the sky. But imagine that you're lying on the floor and the blades of a Chinook helicopter were rotating above you. There's no axis there, is there, relative to you? So that's just one explanation. But that's their best explanation for axis rotation.
Yeah, with the forced assumption through and affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. If the Earth is a sphere, we will observe two rotation points in the northern and southern hemisphere. We observe northern and southern hemisphere rotation of the stars. Therefore, the Earth is a sphere. If P, then Q. Q, therefore P.
Yep, that's it. I mean, it's a reasonable one in that instance. But if there's an axis of rotation, we want to see an axis, not an effect of an axis rotation that's claimed. We want to see the axis rotating.
Any
Well,
evidence?
if the airplane from Charlotte, North Carolina would fly back to LA in 1.5 hours, they'd have something, but they don't.
Of course, Coriolis. We were talking about it in the pre-show, along with 90% car talk.
To be honest, so that would still be an affirming the consequent.
Of course. Even though it doesn't actually happen, we don't actually observe any Coriolis effects, because we don't have the Coriolis causes in place for Coriolis effect. Nevertheless, yes, they would use an affirming the consequent with the carefully phrased, here's an example of Earth-based Coriolis effect in a tweet from Neil deGrasse Tyson, for example. Oh, somebody's opening their crisps. Hello, Righteous Force.
Any scientific evidence for gravity?
The best that they've got is a bit of bendy space-time, and it's called an effect, as per Albert Einstein. I have had an interesting discussion with M. Scott Veach this morning over on Discord about his article where he's basically addressing Quora. And somebody asked, why does the vacuum of space not suck the atmosphere off? And somehow M. Scott Veach has got himself published on an article, and he says that it's gravity. And I tried to point out to him that the gravity, according to Einstein, is the effect of the curvature of space-time rather than the cause. And I asked him, could he explain how that worked? And he wanted to basically, what he's argued is that, well, it's the same effect on Einstein as it is on Newton, so who cares? And I'm like, yeah, but one's a force, the other one's not a force. One's the effect of curvature of space-time. And he's like, who cares? As long as the result's the same, who cares? And I'm like, yeah, well, you need a force to stop the atmosphere bursting into space. By Einstein, you don't have one. And he just couldn't see that that was a glaring hole in the explanation. He wanted people to accept that the explanation gave the same results on both models, so what difference does it make?
Let me get it straight.
To...
So, M. Scott Veach's argument is that the bending of a conceptual medium known as space-time, not a real place, not a real thing, but a conceptual medium known as space-time, the bending of that said conceptual medium gives rise to a non-force, and to quote George Musa, gravity is not a force, end quote. George Musa, 2019, astrophysicist. So given that we've got a conceptual medium bending that doesn't give rise to a force, he's saying that keeps the atmosphere on. Conceptual mediums don't cause anything, Mr. Veach. Are you completely retarded? You think a non-force from a conceptual medium gives rise to an attraction that can keep atmosphere from defying entropy? Maybe you could show us an example of that beyond your fundamentalist religious belief in a sphere Earth.
That is his position. He thinks that because they both give the same effect, it doesn't matter which one that you use. And I'm like, they're not interchangeable. One of them's a force, the other one's not. And the current states that it's not a force. So what's stopping the atmosphere from bursting off into the void of space?
Nothing, and gravity wasn't doing that in the first instance. It doesn't overcome entropy. Shout out to Skeptic936 who says, scientific evidence of what?
Where is Travis these days? I've not seen Travis for ages.
He's around, he's still doing his observations. I still check out his videos. He's just, obviously, life is him getting in his way. Maybe it's the sun, sea and shagging that he's doing. Who knows?
So these people saying that bending of space-time and gravity are the same effect, but they give no evidence for it, and it's conceptual, which means it's a notion. They have nothing. It's just garbage.
He won't accept that because it's not a force on one model. He won't accept that that's the criteria necessary to explain the bursting of the gas pressure into the vacuum of space. He thinks that because they both give the same results, it doesn't matter which one they use. And I'm like, yeah, it does, because you need force.
What's he basing his results on?
He's basing his claim on the fact that they both give the same results, the same effect. So he doesn't care which one it is. He said they can be used interchangeably, and I'm like, they can't.
Yeah, but he hasn't
but
he hasn't given us the actual data or real experimentation on the results. He's just saying these are the results and calling it what he wants. He hasn't proven
I just don't understand how anybody can accept that a non-force can cause something to do or not do something. But that is what you have to do if you believe that there's a gas pressure next to the vacuum of space. Even if there is a pressure gradient, got to have some kind of force stopping it from bursting into space instantaneously. And there isn't one. But they don't seem to notice that as a glaring hole in their argument.
The glaring hole in the argument is he's just telling a story without any evidence.
Well, they've made up a medium and are bending it and saying it gives rise to a non-force that you can consider a force. It's an absolute train wreck.
Yep.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No. No magic tape measures.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah,
Any evidence that we can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Definitely not.
Nope, no way.
Discord?
Any
Anybody in Discord? Anybody at all? Gas pressure without a container?
I have to wonder, Nathan, why the people in Discord join if they don't contribute.
Hey, Nathan, what about if the container of the gas pressure was actually solid frozen gas? Oh, it wouldn't be gas anymore, but what if?
Yeah, it kind of sounds like ice.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
I don't know what the sky is, Arwen, I'm afraid. But
Yeah.
it's lovely to speculate.
It's a weird idea that so far out there, it could simply be so cold that it's all stacked up chunks of solid air, like ice. And who knows how deep that goes. Maybe you could excavate in the sky if you could somehow withstand those types of temperatures. Science fiction.
I was hoping you guys would be addressing this. Hoping, but I wasn't sure. Sorry. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you. Good to have you, Paul.
Good to have you. I know I didn't hear the context of what Erwin just said, but it seemed like we're talking about this supposedly temperature-driven sky container. Is that what we're talking about?
What, this absolute speculation horseshit?
Okay. I guess the guys that are on Master B saw that I actually reached out to Dwayne Kellum on his data, and actually Life is Short, is that his name? He actually recommended, Life is Short recommended this to reach out to him. So I did. I reached out to Dwayne Kellum and had him send me his data on his high balloon launches. Well, I have the data up currently. Let me see if I can get it displayed.
Good morning, peeps.
Chocolate.
Yo.
Chocolate, you'll have to tell us about. I left to join here, but you'll have to tell us about what your conversation was with Gravity in there just as I was leaving, because I just thought.
Well, I've got Paul presented just before you do. Fine, but let Paul get to the end of his point if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, if you can you see my screen?
Yeah, you're being presented.
Okay, if you look at column G, it's showing the altitude in feet. Okay, and you got the temperature in column J, then you got the pressure in column K. So if you watch the pressure, I'll scroll it kind of slow, but if you watch the pressure, it stays pretty consistent for quite a while. You know, it may fluctuate slightly, but as you keep going up higher and higher, right around, let's see, where was it at? I think it was around 40,000. Actually, I re-looked at it. I think it's around 40,000 feet or so. Right around here, the temperature starts to kind of level out around -70. And then it fluctuates back down or gets a little hotter again. Then you keep going up to the 56,000 feet. It kind of tops out at like -70 degrees, like right in here. I don't know if you can see it. But then as it keeps rising, as he goes, as the balloon rises, temperature starts to increase. Here, I'll keep going up. I'll go a little faster. As you can see, the temperature is starting to rise when it gets even to 70,000 feet. Then it goes, let me go a little bit farther. At 90,000 feet, it's warmer. At 100,000 feet, it's even warmer. And then it actually tops out at probably at this point is where the balloon burst. Let me find it. I think I went past it. Probably right around here is where the balloon popped. Probably around 119,000 feet. The temperature's 13 degrees. So it's actually warmer at 120,000 feet roughly. And even the pressure is pretty low at that temperature, or at that height. So my question is, what's causing that temperature to rise? To David, Right the Hand, and Spurs. So here's it showing temperature increase, and even the pressure is very low. If you look in this right blue column, the temperature or the pressure is very low, but the temperature is pretty high.
Maybe that's where the electricity that manifests all the heavenly body is running.
Down to that, well, you're closer to the heat source, so to speak, would be the sun. We could be magnetic. It could be who knows what.
No,
But
I'm not talking about a vicinity to the sun. I'm talking about a region where electricity simply is conducting, manifesting the heavenly bodies visually. So it's not, nothing is there except the tension that causes the light.
Okay, well, yeah, it's a lot of speculation either
Yep.
way.
I know.
It's a spitballing, which I'm not addressing that. And I noticed I watched the thing with Sleeping Warrior and all them on there, and that was actually, sorry guys, but that was an absolute train wreck. Sorry, should have brought Rumpus in, Brenda. I mean, I agree with Brenda to a certain extent because she was actually talking correctly for when it talks about pressure. And I think what they're confusing with when they say pressure and water is that if you know the nature of water, it's a very good conductor of heat. So it can actually help stabilize temperatures. That's why we use water in our engines, on our car, because it's better than just blowing air across it. So I think they're confusing that. And I even heard Spur Schemo after me demolishing him about this condensing air into water. That's just that the pressure's rising, so the water's condensing. That doesn't mean that it's being created. Water's not being created. I think even Right the Hand said that in one of the replies on the video itself that I commented. Guys, this is you guys don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. The more you talk, the worse it gets. I mean, here's data from an independent source, not NASA, not the Weather Service. This is a guy that's doing his own research. We've all probably seen Dwayne's videos of high altitude balloon launches. And I reached out to him within a day, he got this data to me. I bet you could do the same thing if you want to confirm this. If you want me to send the data, I've got it. I will send it to you. And he will probably do the same if you want to make sure you get the right source. I'll leave it there. It's in a. I can probably do a screenshot, but it's a file. I'd probably just have to email it to you. If you want to private message me in Skype or something, I can send you the file.
All right.
Cool. Thanks for that.
Regarding that footage, has anybody else really gotten stars the way he did at that height? Because that was insane. I've never seen footage at that height with that many stars just looking that crazy. Pretty awesome.
So, Paul, based on what I'm seeing here on the data, the temperature, instead of getting colder as you get higher, it's actually getting warmer.
Yes, and there's a video he's got. You can actually watch a launch occurring, and he has the sensors on screen. I can try to find that and post it. But you can actually watch the temperature, go down and then start rising back up as it got higher. You can actually see it. I'll try to find it and share it. Anthony, what do you think? Because you were on that Skype call, that train wreck of a Skype call.
Just give me 2 secs. I'm just emptying some shopping. Just give me 2 secs. I'll be back.
And also, just so they know, you got to remove the water from an air compressor or air conditioning system for it to function. You can have gas pressure without water. I'm going to say it again. I'm on record.
Well, I didn't watch the whole thing, right? I've been on Discord for the past couple of days, so I'm slightly not up to date, right? But the first part that I saw was that inner tube was deflated, and the question was, why is it not just inflating because of the pressure outside? I mean, catch me up on this, because I'm a little lost. Like, is the inner tubes supposed to just inflate spontaneously now? I don't.
Well,
what were they saying, really?
Well, they're basically saying that because you can put 6 pounds of pressure in an inner tube, it overcomes the 14 pounds of pressure. And I actually was doing some research on this. And Irwin said it, and nobody listened, and I said it. It's a differential issue. Like, technically, the pressure inside that air tube is 6 psi plus 14, so it's actually 20 psi overall, because it's a differential pressure issue that you're dealing with. So really, you're using six pounds of pressure to overcome or push into that so-called 14, but it's really probably 20 pounds of pressure coming out of that inner tube that's causing it to vent out. Once it equalizes and stabilizes, it's back to it won't inflate. But pressure, the way you can tell we live in a pressurized system is either increase the pressure or remove the pressure, and you will notice it. And the reason you don't feel it, I'll say this too. I took an Atheism in college. You have sensors on your skin. I mean, like if you stand very still for a long time without movement, eventually you will stop feeling your own clothes. You will not feel it. The only time you start to feel it is when there's that slight movement, then you start feeling your clothes on you. Your brain is designed to move out certain sensory input. It's designed to do that. Because if you would constantly be aware of that sensory input, that's all you'd be noticing. You wouldn't notice anything else. You technically probably hear your heartbeat, but your brain is designed to filter that out so you don't hear it. Same thing with, in your skin, your clothes on your skin is a good example. Just stand really still and see if you can notice your clothes.
Good example. Because when Spurs is saying, you can't feel it, it's like, well, no, you just, what's the word? There's a word they use when they're coming up from depth to stop them getting the bends. What's the word? Equalized, right?
Decompressing.
No, equalized.
Equalized. You're in equilibrium with your surroundings, therefore there is no pressure difference between you and the surroundings. If there was, you'd detect it, and then your body would try and equalize.
Pressure equilibrium.
Yeah, it is. It's just equilibrium. But your body is in equilibrium, and therefore you don't feel that pressure. But Spurs' argument is, you don't feel it. It's like, well, if you did constantly feel it, you'd be constantly aware of it, and you'd all, as Paul's pointing out, it'd be all you could focus on. You wouldn't be able to get on with anything.
Well, you can focus on it if you want to.
Well,
you can also be willfully ignorant about it, like Spurs Schemo, of course.
We can detect pressure changes. We had a storm here a couple of nights ago. Believe me, I knew it was on its way because you could detect the pressure change. So me and my wife looked at each other and go, did you feel that? Yep. All right, so there's a storm coming. Because we both just instantaneously knew there'd been a pressure change. Because there had. It's just as simple as that.
I feel the pressure on my skull when that happens. At first.
Yeah, same here. Exactly the same. And you just suddenly
and it goes
acutely
away
aware.
Eventually, though.
Again?
It's like a sensation that lasts maybe 15 minutes or something, and then you're just used to it.
Yeah, then your body becomes equalized again, and then you don't even notice it because you're now in that your body's at the same pressure as the surrounding air, so it doesn't make any difference. But when you're not, and it's an abrupt change, it's like going up a hill. You can force that effect to happen.
Oh.
If you go up a long enough, steep enough hill, you'll notice.
I have another example. Change. How about going? You're in a supermarket with air conditioning, and then you walk outside in the middle of the heat. Well, you will feel the pressure very much.
It's a bad example because if Spurs would just say it's the heat.
No, but you feel that it's just the way the air feels to you, not just the heat. It's thicker. It's just. Yeah.
This is just simple stuff. I can't believe we're still arguing about it even when he's not here. He's poison.
Right.
Am I back? Am I missing something?
No.
What was the question that Paul asked me a minute ago?
Didn't.
Actually, I did. I said you were on that train wreck of a show on Ranty's show with Brenda and everybody on there. What are your thoughts on what I just shared? If you caught, now they were just commentating on what we were talking about.
With regard to the outside temperature going into positive numbers?
Yes.
You're gonna have to explain it to me because I was half listening because I was emptying some shopping. So the outside temperature went into positive numbers, but the inside, what was the other number?
Well, okay, I'll just recap. I'm not gonna. I can share you. I can send you the data if you want to.
No, just share it again, Paul. It's no harm.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Hang on a second. And did you hear where this data came from, Anthony?
Yeah, it came from Dwayne Callum's balloon flight.
Right. If you look right here, this is kind of where the balloon tops out around 119,000 feet, 631. So 119,631. The balloon tops out. Probably at that point is when it ruptures. Well, the temperature right there is 13.5 degrees. Mm-hmm. Well, if you go back down, let me see if I can find it again. The temperature tops out about -70 around 56,000 feet. Okay, so that's a lower altitude. And also the pressure is different. So if you see the pressure here, it's actually greater. The temperature is lower at at this temperature, or at this altitude. So, but the temperature.
Spurs would say that when it's minus 70, he would say that would be because that would cause the pressure to get less, wouldn't he?
Well, right. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, that's my point. But if you look, the pressure as you go up, the pressure is decreasing, but the temperature is increasing.
Yeah, me and Randy just discussed this at the end of my show. It's funny you bringing it up.
But what you're saying is that temperature didn't cause a pressure increase change.
Right. But the temperature, yeah. So here's
and conversely, temperature did not only did pressure didn't cause temperature, and temperature didn't cause pressure.
Right. In this measurement, right, it seems like the temperature was increasing, but the pressure was decreasing. The temperature was increasing, but the pressure was still decreasing.
I think that Spurs would have to look at that and question why is it doing the opposite to what he thinks might be happening.
Okay. And also, here's the other thing. There's another question that he's brought up on that video, and I'm going like, are you kidding me? I just proved this right off the bat. He basically says if you don't have water, you don't have pressure. He said that, okay? And I just proved very easily you can't have gas pressure without water, and that's wrong. Because in air compressors, they have to remove the water. They have to remove the water for the compressor to function properly. So you can still have gas pressure without water. And he said that, and that's wrong. That's used every day in air conditioning systems, air compressors. They remove the water for it to work properly.
Yeah, there are some things I don't agree with Spurs on that point, but there's also some points that I do wonder whether they might be right on.
Look at that.
Hello, everybody.
Look at Pete Shea in chat. Pete Shea says clouds are not water.
Ranty's really loud. You're really loud, Ranty.
Oh, right, okay. Don't know how I can change that. Hang on, let me put you on speaker.
One more thing too.
Joined on Skype, so he's basically just hijacked the show. He's obviously got something to say.
well, let me finish with my final thought, and you can take over. What's that?
No, carry on.
I'm addressing the gentleman talking.
I've also heard the hand say is that pressure creates water. It does not. Pressure condenses water. Pressure condenses water. It does not create water. So just want to make that statement as clear as well, because the hand said that, and I think Spurs was agreeing. Okay, go ahead, Ranty, if you want to say something.
Okay, so me and Tony and Dr. John D and Spurs were having a bit of a conflab yesterday for a good few hours. We found a balloon demonstration that shows the effects of temperature on the pressure inside the balloon. Tony, I'm sure you'll want to present that at some point. However, the data that you've just provided about saying that the temperature gets warmer as you go up, have you noticed that as the temperature gets higher, the pressure drops?
Because he had the pressure gauge on the balloon that's registering the pressure.
Yeah.
That is on the screen.
Whereas I'm on board with pressure, and pressure being real. What I'm disagreeing with is the cause of it. Now, in the globe model, the cause of it is gravity. In the
no, it isn't. No, it is not. No, it's not. Citation.
Yes, it is.
They might say it, but it isn't. Their cause is not gravity. Just because M. Scott Beach says that's their cause, you find me a citation that actually declares that.
But there was loads yesterday. I was explaining it. I showed it to Tony yesterday. He could probably bring them up. There's about half a dozen citations that we looked at yesterday. But I'm at work. I'm actually working outside, so I can't pull up a citation right now.
Okay, no worries. Let me just before you go on, Ranty, can you send me those, Anthony? Is that a possibility? Yeah, of course I can. Excellent. Thank you, Anthony.
Anyway, so carrying on. As the temperature, so what will happen is if you look at those temperatures, you go from 20,000, 40, 60, 80, 120,000. When it gets to about 80,000, it's minus 30. When it gets to when it's at 60,000, it's about minus 30. When it's at 80,000, it's minus 50. And then when it's at 120,000, it's minus 30. So it's warmed up. So it's actually warmer than it is at 80. But it's the same temperature at 60,000. So minus 30 and minus 30. However, the difference is the pressure on the outside of the balloon. So at 60,000 feet, you've got 6.8 BSP on the outside of it. At the 121,000 feet, you've got 0.15 BSP on the outside of it. Now,
is
the
it you talking right now?
Tony's going to show you in a minute will show you the expansion of the balloons when you take the balloon from a really cold state to a warmer state. The balloon expands. Now, at 121,000 feet, with less pressure on the outside, containing this rapid expanse from the inside of the balloon due to temperature, the balloon pops. And that's why they always seem to pop at 120 to 123,000 feet.
That's got not a hell of a lot to do with temperature. It has to do more with air pressure, which is why I asked the question.
Air pressure on the outside, stopping air, but the increase in the balloon, the pressure inside the balloon changes due to the temperature change.
Prove that.
Very, very minutely.
Tony can prove it if he brings up that demonstration that we were looking at yesterday. Tony, are you there?
Well, if you look at this, data I have right here from Dwayne Cullum, the temperature or the pressure is reducing all the way up. It does. If you watch the numbers, they fluctuate too.
That's pressure on the outside.
But at the height, exactly.
That's not pressure on the inside of the balloon. The pressure on the inside of the balloon changes when it goes from a difference of minus 50 to minus 30. So at 80,000 feet, it's minus 50. So it's shrinking, the balloon. When it goes to 120,000 feet, it's suddenly in a temperature of minus 30, so it's warming up. So the balloon is then expanding, but it has less pressure on the outside to contain it. So that rapid increase of the balloon that's going up pops it.
Randy,
yes.
Just think of what you just said. You just said pressure.
Yeah.
Did you not?
Density and buoyancy hand in hand with temperature.
No, Randy, you just said pressure.
Yeah. So what?
So what?
Not temperature.
I'm talking about temperature causes the pressure differential. Temperature causes
very vaguely.
Right.
The pressure differential of the balloon, it expands so much because there is less pressure
on the outside,
which is what we'll get into shortly.
So there's less pressure on the outside because the medium that it's going through is a very light medium,
pressure.
So it has very little pressure. And then what happens is the balloon on the inside that has the air pressure or the helium down on the floor rapidly increases because it's entering an area of warmer temperature. So that warmer temperature forces the gases inside the balloon to then stop contracting and start to expand. So that forces the balloon to expand.
Yes.
Well, wait a minute.
Because they contract when they get to that very cold.
How can a balloon expand with warmer temperatures when it gets cold with altitude?
Honestly, wait a minute.
No, but Jazz, it just said it gets to the minus 50 degrees. Because of that, it shrinks somewhat, but it still keeps rising. When it then transcends that temperature layer, it actually becomes a little bit warmer, and that sudden warmer with the lower pressure causes it to rapidly expand.
Let's make it real simple.
Do you know when the temperature starts to get warmer? Do you know at what altitude?
Hang on. It's real simple. It's real simple. Hang on. There is a relationship between temperature and pressure. So yes, Randy, the temperature inside the balloon increasing the pressure, the differential pressure from outside the balloon. The structure of the balloon cannot handle that differential pressure, and it ruptures.
Yep.
So yes,
there's
nothing wrong with that. Okay, but that still doesn't. The temperature's still rising, and the issue is that this is part of the discussion. Hang on, I'm still talking. Whoever it is, I'm still talking. I will pause when I'm done. Hang on. I'm not done. Okay. What's causing the temperature to rise? Because they've been saying, Spurs and David and whoever else, right? The hand is saying its temperature is that it's the container. That's what they're saying. If the temperature is increasing, it cannot be the container.
I would disagree with that, and Tony can probably bring up. If Tony was here, because if I was here, I'd screen share, but I'm at work, so I can't do it. But Tony went through all this. We went through all this yesterday for 6 hours, and we brought up a bunch of stuff. And if he's there actually doing anything, he can show all this stuff. Citation for gravity being the force for pressure, air pressure. Also a demonstration of the balloon going from a really cold temperature to a really warm temperature and expanding and contracting, proving that it's not gravity that's having an effect on it, just the temperature on the outside of the balloon.
Sorry, just a new caller in. Is this Ranty talking right now?
It is, yeah.
See, Ranty, wait a minute.
Ranty.
The thing is, Ranty,
So
everything you described has nothing to do with temperature being a containment. Nothing you said has anything to do with
hang on,
pressure or temperature being a containment.
I just want to talk to Ranty about I'm just a new caller about if it's not gravity, it has to be density and buoyancy. So when I pull 7 Gs in my aeroplane, my fighter jet, does the atmosphere automatically condense above my head and push my friggin' head into my seat? What's going on there?
That's
hold on, just 1 second before anybody replies. Hold on, just while you're talking, Jazz, can you take your mic out of your mouth? Just because we've got so many places.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Love you, Nathan.
Yeah, that's just a malformed question that has no relevance on the actual science that we're trying to bring to the table right now.
We're
trying to show through demonstration.
Every single day,
hold on,
thousands of people. So maybe address that.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't just hand wave dismiss it. Just because you've done that, I'm now going to get him to repeat it. I'm sorry, Ranty. Say it again, Jazz.
Is that about some kind of a plane pulling a 7G turn and it's going to affect the atmosphere? I mean, that has nothing to do with what we've been talking about.
Well, he's asking a question. He's saying,
he wants to address temperature as regards to the increase in elevation and how the balloon would react going through those temperature gradients and what the pressure on the outside of the balloon, what those pressure differentials are going to do to the balloon as it expands and contracts. That's fine, because this is what we were talking about for 6 hours yesterday.
Thank you.
Dr. John D, myself, Spurs Chemo, Sleeping Warrior.
Ranty, that's fine. You may have wasted 6 hours talking about that yesterday, but I know about pressure gradients. I know about...
You didn't know about temperature
gradients.
Just a minute
ago. I know about every gradient you can have.
You just didn't know about temperature a minute ago. So, I'm sorry.
No, Ranty, I do. What my question was is that the common...
hold on a second, Jazz. Whoever's polishing their shoes, can you go on mute?
Sorry, it's me. I'm sanding it. I'm trying to work at the same time.
While he's painting windows.
I am actually painting windows. I'm actually sanding them down and then painting them. So I've put my stuff down. I'm going to sit in the car for 10 minutes. Right, hang on.
Don't drop your mobile in the paint.
Right, I'm in my car. Right,
words of wisdom.
Another fellow painter, I see, Ranty.
Yes.
Look, we're completely hijacking. Hold on. Right, Jazz, please can you repeat your question?
G'day. Oh, Nathan. No, I do apologise to Ranty. It was sort of a off the cuff questions that we got onto a gravity subject, and my question is, or statement, if you like, is that gravity can definitely not be buoyancy in gravity, because I can pull a 5, 6, 7 G turn in my airplane, which would mean that the air pressure above my head in my airplane at any random time would have to weigh 6 to 7 times and randomly be able to choose to push down on my skull and through my spinal cord to make me feel
so that's not a question, and it's a red herring. Thank you.
No, it's not, because when fighter pilots feel 9 Gs every single day, so it's not a red herring. It's a fact.
Only when you turn a corner. So yeah
exactly.
Forces
when
of
you
moving
direction.
things, acceleration. Yeah. What's the issue?
The change in momentum. You're changing momentum very quickly. It's going to, of course, create a pressure differential that would simulate 7Gs. So it's like I say, it is a red herring. It's nothing to do with the question that I brought to the table. I heard you guys talking about Spurs chemo and pressure and temperature and stuff. And whereas I'm on board with you guys with pressure actually being real, what we've found out in our research recently is we can demonstrate how we can have a pressure differential solely on temperature as regard and totally excluding gravity. Totally excluding.
Well,
just changing temperature
is debunked instantly by pilots pulling G's.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. It has nothing to do with it.
Just give me, Arwen, just give me one example that it's not, and I'll let it rest. Just give me
You're in a plane and you turn in a corner.
It's you.
Well, we're getting off topic a little bit here. There's nothing wrong with
no, we're not. We're not.
Hold on.
You could put a scale.
Hold on, Paul.
We're not at all.
We're not off topic, right? I was hoping you would do this. Hold on, Jazz. I'm helping you out, mate. Jazz, I'm helping you out, mate. Jazz. Right, I'm going to summarise your position. The argument is regards to gravity and its ability, with its force, to contain the atmosphere at gradiated pressure. That's the claim. Now, Jazz hasn't overtly made it. I'm making it for him. He wants to correct me. That's fine. He's using G in this context, with G in the context of him pulling G in his plane to X amount times the greater claimed force that we feel when no turns are being manoeuvred. So that's his claim. It is linked. He hasn't linked it very well. But so I just don't want anybody watching to think, oh, they've hand waved that, but I could have made the connection that Jazz hasn't. So I'm going to do it for him on his behalf. If you want to correct me at any point, Jazz, feel free to make any corrections to my summary.
I can do it at any time.
Was my summary correct or not?
He doesn't know.
It's apples and pears. No, it's apples and pears.
You've already demolished this, Ranty. You did it really concisely earlier, and I thanked you. But because you talked past each other, and he hadn't made a good enough example with a concise summary of his claim, you smashed it without that being preceding it, right? So it didn't make any coherent sense as a conversation. You have already smashed it. It is completely red herring. Arwen's right as well. But I don't want that to just be Jazz going, oh, well, they just ignored me.
No, Nathan, I won't say that at all. What I'll say is, if you allow me to do so, which you probably won't, is that the G-force is centered to the center of the Earth, which, of course, you don't agree with. But that's what pulls... when we pull G in an airplane or a helicopter, or well, you can't do it in a helicopter so much, but a car, you have lateral G, like a Formula One car. That's what happens. There's nothing you can do about it. The more G you pull, the harder your head gets pulled to the center of the Earth, because it's the good old Einstein.
I think
the G is only the measuring stick they use, the presupposition of gravity. What you're doing is pulling acceleration.
Okay, hang on, Alan.
He just said that it pulls towards the gravity of the Earth. What happens if you pull the G going upside down and the G force is with your head facing the sky? Is that going to have the same effect?
Did you seriously just ask that question?
It's not being pulled to the center of the Earth now. It's being pulled to the sky.
Jazz? Do you understand what he's asking?
Did you just... If I roll...
You're eating your mic again, Jazz. Jazz,
no.
Jazz, take your mic out of your mouth. I keep having to adjust your volume every time you start eating your mic. Just pick a distance and stick to it.
Sorry, is that all right?
Yeah, but I'll turn you back up, but now hopefully you won't start eating your mic the second you get keen.
Yeah, no, I'll try not to. It's a debilitating disorder.
There's a consequence of this line of thought. You need to think about. This is where you need to go.
No, hang on.
This is what I was. Huh?
Who said?
Who just started?
Who just said if I roll upside down?
Ranty did. So to summarise, right? If you're pulling off the ground, taking off, yeah, and you feel the G, yeah, and then you invert the plane and do the exact
That's
same
positive
thing.
G.
I haven't finished. I haven't finished, Jazz. I'm summarising Ranty's position. So you're now in the air, you invert the plane, and you do the complete opposite. Yeah? Well,
That's negative G.
oh, right. So you've just attributed a force with a negative to it. It's the same exact force, but when it's away from your fundy belief in G, it's negative. Well, it's the same force you're feeling, it's just upside down. That's Ranty's point. But of course, it's not allowed to be summarised now because Jazz decided that's not a good enough demolition by Ranty.
I'm accelerating away from the constant force, so it's a negative G.
Oh, constant force, you bonehead. Gravity's not a force. George Musa, 2019. What part of that don't you understand?
There is no negative
Holy
force.
fucking shitball.
Oh yeah, you're going to start
exist.
swearing. Bye-bye, Jazz. Yeah, that's because you've just been wrecked, mate. Just been wrecked. Gravity, not a force. George Musa, 2019. Suck it, Fundy. Now piss off.
A negative force, guys. A negative force. How do you even conceptualize that?
Can I
Is
tell
Tony
you where
back yet? Is
the
Tony
line of
back?
reasoning that you need to, if they're not realizing it, everything you're describing can be described in a centrifuge, because a centrifuge is designed to move the more dense material outward. Or what the Flat Earth Society has been saying, that the Earth is this disk that we live on or whatever is accelerating upward at 14 whatever that miles per or acceleration is going on. That's where this line of reasoning and thought is going. So you're gonna. I mean, if
We'll
that's
get to that.
true, then we got to
We'll get
prove
to that.
it.
Carry on, Paul. Sorry.
No, did you hear what I said?
You were interrupted, but I do want to come back to what Ranty said. But yes, your points are good and pertinent, and I don't want them to be interrupted, but I also don't want what Ranty said to go amiss. Please, can you repeat yourself, Paul? Sorry. Can you repeat yourself, please, Paul?
I said this whole line of reasoning and thought process that we're going through, and obviously Lily decides to scream in the background, is that you're going to, only way you can account for the density is a centrifuge. That's what it does. It actually puts the denser material outward to the outside and the less dense material on the inside.
Right.
Or you have the same logical thing with what the Flat Earth Society has been saying about that the Earth is accelerating upward at so many feet per second, and that's what's causing gravity and everything else. The line of thought that you guys are going through, that's where you're heading, just so you know. I'm not saying anything, but you're going to have to prove it.
Right. Gravity is simply an apparent force disequilibrium. That's not really a thing. It's an aberration. But you could try to explain however the relative density is functioning by assuming gravity. It worked, yeah, and then you can compare it with actual acceleration and all that, and it's really interesting. It's what makes gravity so believable. But
incorrect.
It is not a thing.
No, that's not correct. When we are in equilibrium, it is asserted we have a force of 1g.
Right.
So what's 0? Oh no, that's actually 1. Equilibrium, you say? No, 1g. So when you describe that, Arin, you are accurate and factual when you describe force disequilibrium.
Apparent force disequilibrium.
I haven't finished.
I said apparent.
I haven't finished. But you're not. When you're describing equilibrium, which they describe as 1g, which is where I was going to go with Jazz before I kicked him out for swearing. 1g, that's what they're asserting.
Right.
Well, that's not true if you have equilibrium. What's the force? There isn't any. You just move the scale up by 1, and then suddenly you assert that the force you're experiencing when you've got 2g, oh, well, that's double 1g. Well, what's 1g? They've just made up g. They've made up the force of gravity, and then in the current rhetoric, it's not even a force.
Right. It's based off the acceleration rate within a vacuum. That's really where they got that number from.
See? Mark in the chat, Mark Collard, 1g at sea level. 1g. Well, not 0. What do you mean 1g? We're not pulling a loop-de-loop. 0, mate, 0. No g. None.
Did you know there is a flat earther out there that actually believes that we're kind of in a centrifugal kind of environment?
Is he a well-known flat earther?
He's what?
Is he a well-known flat earther?
He was in the beginning. You don't see much. I haven't seen much of him as of late. But it's Scientism.com. I don't know if you remember this guy from years, a long time ago back.
Jeffrey Grubb.
What's that?
Jeffrey Grubb.
Yeah, Jeffrey Grubb. He believes the environment we are living in. I think we are living in some kind of centrifugal, like we're inside of a basketball and we're spinning like a basketball inside. Like we're looking at, when we look up, we're looking inside the basketball.
A Mobius strip.
And we're spinning.
A Mobius strip.
I'm not sure.
I've interviewed a guy, not as popular as him, but a different guy who had the similar sort of idea on a Flat Earth UK. But I was hoping that was a lead into what Ranty had actually said.
I've got a question about.
Well, the problem with the centrifugal issue is actually the gyroscope itself, because if the gyroscope's measuring turns and movement, then that should also validate that at some point. I actually brought that up to him, and he kind of dismissed it out of hand, but still a point that he didn't want to address when I brought it up to him.
Well, this 9.8
Unless there was a
meters per
specific
second
rotation
upward
either.
force is ridiculous, and Dell promoting it is equally ridiculous.
Well, I've got a question on a slight side issue. So I'm subscribed to a guy called Mr. Cheswick, who likes to call out people for being shills and agents. And his most recent video was promoting Dell as level-headed, cool-talking. I'm like, I left about 5 messages. Excuse me, he's promoting a Flat Earth Society narrative, and you're not going to call him out for it? I'm just going to say it. You're a shill, Cheswick. You're just here to shill for the Flat Earth Society narrative that Dell's promoting currently. You're not going to call out your boy Dell? Interesting. Telling, even.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there is, well, Mr. Cheswick and Celtic 67, I think there is Attack Dogs. So if you look at their channels, I mean, they're actually moderators on Dell's stream. So it's pretty clear who those guys actually are. But they do hit pieces against
Shills for Flat Earth Society.
Everybody.
Well, they're just shilling for Flat Earth Society. They're just promoting a Flat Earth Society narrative, and they're not calling out. So what? They'll call out everyone else. Very shilly behaviour. So call out everybody except the one person promoting a controlled op narrative of the Flat Earth Society. That's the only person that doesn't get called out? Really? That's quite surprising. I would expect the first person to get called out for using a Flat Earth Society narrative would be by a guy who spends his entire videography career on that particular channel calling out people in the Flat Earth. So not calling out Dell for a Flat Earth Society narrative. We don't have 1G. I've just went over this. We have 0. We have equilibrium. They've attributed a force that doesn't exist to complete tranquility. Look at this picture. There's nothing going on. We're not moving up. Nothing's being pulled down. It's just in nice, tranquil equilibrium with a small breeze. No G. 0. What's G? What the hell is it? We're not having anything happen to necessitate being forced up at 9.8 meters per second, as per the Flat Earth Society. So I want to know why these people like Cheswick, who go around attacking everybody, that's just the behaviour of shills. Tell everybody else that everybody's shills while you defend the only person punting a Flat Earth Society narrative. What a crock of shit.
And let's just be clear. Let's just name the channel, because I mean, a lot of people might not know who Dell is. Beyond the Imaginary Curve. So there we go.
And with that, I'll say if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. However, if you're watching live on Nathan Oakley 1980, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you tuned in, smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley. A massive thank you to all of today's live panel, and I'll see you all in the next video. Stay tuned if you're watching on the premiering stream.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!